Hello and welcome to the Writecome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to this podcast episode from Writecome.com. And today I want to talk about the jelly mold in your head. Now, the other day, as happens sometimes in Facebook will throw you a bit of a random piece of content, just to probably, it's almost like a fishing rod with a hook. They're going to drop you a little bit of bait every so often to see how you're going to snap on it, to see if they can probably drag you down some kind of a rabbit hole that is going to keep you on their platform for hours at a time. But in my newsfeed, one of the videos that came up, and it was one by Bob Proctor. Now, I do like Bob Proctor, but it's not that I would be over on his page all the time reading his content and all that. I have a couple of his audiobooks, and I would normally maybe listen to those rather than actually reading his content regularly. But there was a video that had come up in it, and for whatever reason I just stopped what I was doing and actually watched it. Now, compared to maybe some of the other content that Bob Proctor has out there, this was a little bit more it was more natural, it was more relaxed. It was him actually in, I don't know, it looked like a big kind of ballroom or whatever. There was a load of dinner tables around. I don't know whether he was giving a seminar, but for whatever reason he seemed to be a lot more relaxed and a lot more human in this video. He wasn't as the way you see him maybe in The Secret and all that, very up, straight and, real professional. He was actually telling stories from his earlier life and some of the people he had worked with and how he used to go to the local prison. Well, actually, I think it wasn't actually local. I think he had a couple of hours drive to go to this prison in Canada, I think. And he used to give free seminars there. He used to try and help make a difference to the inmates, which is a kind of, it's not a story that you probably would have heard much about him. You probably always hear him referred to being as part of The Secret and all that, but you never actually see some of the things he done in his early days that nobody actually knew about. And it was really, really nice to kind of look behind the scenes and see his earlier life and what the things he used to do, like I said, visiting the prison. But one of the stories he brought up was that there was a relative of his now, and he was kind of big into personal development, and when he kind of turned his own kind of life story around. If you don't know Bob Proctor's story at all, it's really worth listening to. In the early days, he was somebody who, at the age of 27, as he said, he was just kind of a barfly. He was going nowhere in life. He owed $6,000 and he only made $4,000 a year, and his life was kind of just going down the plug hole. And for whatever reason, he bumped into a gentleman who kind of turned his life around and kind of showed him where he was going wrong and improved his life. And I think it was like a year later or 2 years later, Bob suddenly found that he was actually making $1 million a year in a business that he had created from nothing, actually cleaning offices at night. He used to have a little bit of a cleaning business, and that kind of grew into a huge $1 million business where he was actually all over the world. He had offices all over the place. Now, it was really, really nice to kind of see behind the scenes because, as I said, we see the kind of polished version, and you kind of think, well, this person has always been like this. So it was really nice in that video to actually see kind of the more humane side of him and how he actually had kind of gone from the very, very beginning to where he was to where he's ended up right now. Now, one of the stories he brought up was that one of his relations, I forget what the gentleman's name was, but he used to do a lot of, like most people, he did a lot of work coming up to Christmas. He was always doing overtime, and he was always doing this and doing that to bring in money, and he was always kind of working flat out, and he never really had the results that he probably should have had for all the work he was putting in. And Bob, whatever Christmas had met up with him, and he was just saying that next year was going to be the year when everything was going to improve. Like most of us probably tell ourselves, we always say, well, maybe this year has been rough, but next year is going to be the one where I am going to take up all the challenges I haven't done before. I'm going to write that book, I'm going to build that blog, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And for whatever reason, Bob actually said that he was an idiot. I forget what it was. He actually said something nastier than that. And your man stopped in his tracks, and I forget what Bob actually said, but it was really surprising that it had come out of his mouth. But I'm really surprised that the man didn't actually punch him in the mouth for what he had said to him. But for whatever reason, he said to him, "You're a jerk," or whatever. this time next year, you are going to be back in the same position that you are in right now. And it's the same position you've been in the year before and the year before. And you've been telling yourself all these stories every year that this year is going to be different, but it's going to be back. You're going to be back in the same place. And as I said, it wasn't the kind of thing that Bob Proctor would normally say at a seminar or whatever. So it kind of did prick up my ear. So I did watch the whole video, and it was really, really entertaining, and it was really enlightening. As I said, just for kind of going behind the scenes of how his earlier life was like before he actually became successful. And for whatever reason, sometimes it's amazing the way your head actually kind of brings a couple of thoughts together and actually pulls a bit. You know, sometimes when I am looking for ideas, maybe for an email or whatever, sometimes I can come up with maybe an idea from my childhood, and then I can kind of segue it into maybe something I'm doing in my business, or maybe a promotion or something like that. And when you actually do that for a long time, your brain does actually get good at pulling different pieces of content together or ideas together and actually giving you content idea. Now, for whatever reason, after listening to that video, my mind, later on that day brought in this kind of old memory of mine of a jelly mold that my mother had. Now, my mother had this kind of, it was like a rabbit that was kind of lying down flat on the ground, so his ears were kind of flat across his back, and it was a really, really cute kind of jelly mold. And as for whatever reason, this jelly mold was only ever used on special occasions. Now, it wasn't that my mother would it's not that there was anything special about this jelly mold. It's not that it was an heirloom that was handed down from generation to generation. It was one of those kind of plastic Tupperware kind of type of jelly mold. But I always remember, when it would maybe on the run up to Christmas or maybe a birthday or something like that, she would go to a little bit of the effort. At the end of the day, it's not that much of an effort to actually put a couple of jelly mold cubes into hot water and pour it into this mold. But I always remember, for whatever reason, I always have a strong kind of memory of special occasions with this jelly mold. But anyway, I used to watch my mother when she used to fill it, and like most kids, I had no patience, and I would constantly be opening the fridge door and looking at the fridge, looking at the jelly mold, and maybe give it a little bit of a shake just to see was it still liquidy or was it hardened. And then when it finally did harden, I would go racing off to her and I would say, it's ready, and of course she would come back with the jelly mold, and then we would turn it upside down. But as you're probably well aware, jelly doesn't actually fall out of the mold in the beginning. It does need a little bit of coaxing, so she would run it on maybe the hot tap or whatever, just to kind of loosen it up a little bit. And then she would then kind of get a big dinner plate and plop the jelly mold down, and we'd kind of listen to this kind of farting noise as the jelly would kind of slurp out of the mold and then land on the plate. And once she took the mold off, I used to always kind of stand, kind of like a child. I'd be like almost in awe, kind of looking at how great it turned out. How you would see all the little details on the piece of jelly. The way you'd see the rabbit's eyes, and then you'd see all the lines on its body, and the shape of its ears and all that. It was always really, really amazing, and its nose and its whiskers. How well it came out of the jelly mold. And it just kind of, as I said, the early video of Bob Proctor with that gentleman saying, that next year it was going to be different. Unfortunately, a lot of us kind of are in this kind of mental jelly mold at the moment. We are probably getting results right now that we've probably got the same results last year and the year before and the year before that. And, it doesn't matter how much we try, how much we think that next year is going to be the one that we are going to turn everything around. When we are kind of only working with a jelly mold of a certain size or a certain shape, we are also going to get, you're always going to get that result back. We're always going to get that rabbit. It's not that my mother was going to, turn over the mold and suddenly we were going to get some crab, or we're going to get a puppy, or we were going to get a Christmas tree or whatever. It was always going to be a rabbit was going to come out of that mold. And it's just when I had my mind, as I said, was kind of piecing these two ideas together. It's just when Bob had actually, had said in that video, you are going to get the same results that you got last year as the year before. And as we were coming up to Christmas this year, when I do look at where I am right now compared to where I was last year, I might be a little bit further on than where I was, but I'm still kind of in the same position. And it was only when I was actually listening to the video and I remember that memory, it kind of brought up, what kind of jelly mold do I have in my head right now? What kind of maybe limit am I putting on myself? We are, whatever, I don't know what your beliefs are in God or spirit or the universe or whatever you think right now, but we are probably like that kind of liquid jelly that is, poured into a mold every day, and we kind of live our lives out depending on the mold that we are putting ourselves into. So it kind of was a bit of a wake-up call for me, and this past couple of weeks now, since I've watched that video, I have put more effort into my personal development, into kind of expanding on this kind of ideas that I have in my head, or the limitations I'm putting on my head, because I know that when I come to the end of 2021, I'm probably going to be in the same position as I was before, because I have these kind of mental limits on my head. So I'm not really concentrating as much on my business at the moment. Of course, I am, giving it as much attention as I can, and if people do need help, I'm willing and sure to help out. But I'm kind of not actually focusing on creating products, because I found, even though this year I have probably been creating more products than I've ever done before, I'm still in the same situation that I am in right now. And as I said, I think it's because of the kind of limitations I have put on my head. The mold that I'm working with right now is always going to give me the same result. It doesn't matter how many books I write, how many videos I create, maybe how many podcast episodes I create, I'm still going to come back to this kind of same position. I'm still going to come back to being a rabbit at the moment, and I'm not going to find any different results because of the kind of mental jelly mold I'm putting myself into. So I know it's a little bit of a ramble, and I know it's probably not, giving you kind of maybe answers to this, because I don't know what the answers are at the moment, but this is something I'm doing right now, and maybe it's something maybe you should look at yourself. If you are ending up this year in the same position that you have this year, the year before, and the year before that, maybe you need to take a look at the mold that you have in your mind right now, what limitations it's putting in. As it doesn't matter if you go into 2021, if you suddenly become, take up fiction and you throw your heart and soul into it, or if you're going to create products, or if you're going to, create videos or podcast episodes, you're probably still going to end next year in the position that you are in. You maybe moved a little bit on further than where you are, but right now you are kind of working with some particular mold. I don't know what your mold is, but you're probably working with some kind of mold that is going to get you back to, you're still going to arrive at the same position that you are in right now. So I wanted to give that some thought. It's something I'm giving some thought to at the moment. And as I said, I have kind of taken my foot off the content creation and creating products, and probably getting as many offers out as much as I used to. Anybody who is on my email list probably has noticed that I am not showing up as much in the inbox with as many offers as I would do. And it's because of that reason. It's because I am trying to work on my head and maybe expand the mold that I am going to be pouring my jelly into, that hopefully this time next year, 2021, will be a lot better for me. Not that 2020 hasn't been a good year. While it has its up and downs, I can still say the problems I have at the moment are all first world problems compared to what is going on in the world and what some other people are going through. I have been really, really lucky, and I have been really, really blessed this year. But as all of us, we do always want to be better than where we are right now. So that's why I'm putting a little bit more effort into my personal development over maybe more of the business and the product creation. So give that some thought today. Maybe it's been a ramble, maybe it's no use to you, but maybe it has, maybe there is something some nuggets you can pull out of the podcast, this episode, maybe that you can put into your life. As I said, it was a kind of a couple of ideas that my brain had pulled together for whatever reason, between the videos of Bob Proctor and the jelly mold, and me kind of, remembering it. Hopefully I maybe have hopefully I've done something for you this morning. I don't know, but let's put the content out there and see what happens. Maybe it's going to make a difference in somebody's day-to-day. So as always, sorry for the little bit of a ramble there, but again, as always, it's what's in my head right now, and I just wanted to get it out there. So let's see what happens. So as always, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like to ask me any questions, or if you'd like to ask me, maybe if you'd like me to cover something in a podcast episode, feel free to do that. I don't bite at all, and we may cover it in an episode. So if you want to do that, you can reach out to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, or if you want to know what I'm up to right now, you can come over to Facebook. You'll find the rightcome.com page over there. That's WRITECOME.com. Or if you want to drop by the blog, again, you're very welcome to do that as well too. That's WRITECOME.com. And as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the rightcome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.